Hello, this is Jason. I'll be reading the debate introduction. I personally have no opinion either way, but I'm just reading this debate introduction between these two people. Okay, the modal ontological argument attempts to deductively demonstrate that God exists. While this argument is generally regarded as being formally valid, it may or may not be sound. Either way, everyone agrees that this modal argument tells us, at the very least, that God must exist, or, on the other hand, that he cannot even possibly exist. In other words, it is not merely possible for God to exist or to not exist. The crucial question this raises is the coherence or incoherence of theism. For if the very idea of God is coherent, it seems the modal argument goes through and God does and must exist. But is the definition of God logically consistent in the first place? If the concept or idea or definition of the term God does not actually make sense, whether God actually is real or not, then the modal argument is itself unsound. In that case, it would not only be true that God does not exist, but further that it was not even a possibility to begin with that he could have ever existed. Again, the modal argument makes clear that God must or must not exist. There is no third alternative. The only question to repeat is whether the theistic concept is a coherent one. The two opponents in the debate before us shall not be arguing for the existence of God or the non-existence of God per se. Rather, they shall be arguing for the mere possibility or impossibility of him existing. In light of the modal argument, however, if God is possible, then he is necessarily actual, or if he is impossible, he cannot exist in this or any other logically possible world that we could conceive of. Daniel and Gary have agreed that Daniel bears the main burden of proof in this debate. That is because Daniel, an atheist, shall be defending the resolution. That resolution is, quote, the idea of God is incoherent, unquote. Since Daniel is maintaining the truth of this proposition, he bears the burden of proof for it. Daniel and Gary talked ahead of time how the resolution would read. In the interest of fairness, both parties agreed ahead of time exactly how the resolution would be worded. While Gary, the Christian, does not bear the burden of proof, his job in the debate is neither more nor less than show that Daniel has not succeeded in establishing the incoherence of theism. Daniel does succeed, then God does not exist, but again, the debate is not specifically concerned with the non-existence of God. Gary succeeds, and Daniel has not succeeded in making his case. That would seem to increase our confidence, at the very least, that the modal argument is sound, and that, in turn, would bring us closer to the affirmation that God exists. To beat the dead horse, though, this debate is not about the existence of God. What, then, is the concept of God which is in the view for the debate? God shall be understood to be that putative being which has the following attributes: omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, immateriality, eternality, goodness, justice, creativity. By creativity, it is meant that God is the creator and sustainer of all other beings. In addition to these attributes, God is taken to be as described by the Bible. The reason for this addition to the conception of God is that Daniel and Gary have in mind the Christian God throughout the course of the debate, as opposed to the mere general deity of classical theism. The case, then, pro or con, can include appeals to biblical teaching about God. The format for the debate shall be as follows. Following the introductory remarks, there shall be two opening speeches of 50 minutes each, then two periods of rebuttal of 10 minutes each. The two more rebuttal periods of 5 minutes each. Finally, 5 minutes have been designated for brief concluding remarks. Without further ado, I present you Daniel Clark. What the hell did I just read?